So I grew up in a real small town called Sullivan, Maine. My dad was a lobster fisherman, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I always say that doesn't do it justice. Being a stay-at-home mom, she worked odds and ends in different jobs, trying to make extra income. But my dad, like I said, was a fisherman. And contrary to what you see on Deadliest Catch, you don't make like hundreds of thousands of dollars. We were, it was a hard life growing up. You make about $25,000 to $30,000 net once you're done fishing. And it was always, we didn't, I always tell people we didn't want for anything. I always had food. You can tell by looking at me, I always had food and clothes on my back. But it was a hard life. And I learned the value of hard work really early on with my parents. And I think that served me in life. I think that served me right out of high school. I joined the military. I spent 10 years in the Army. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that. I went to Marion Military Institute in Alabama. Anybody been to Alabama before? I always tell people I went to school in LA, and they go, LA, that's cool. I'm like, yeah, lower Alabama. So the first time I ever saw somebody selling dirt, I thought dirt was easy to get, but they sell dirt in Alabama. And so I just went to an all-boys military school, and I love to collapse time frames. So they told me that if you go to this school for 2 years, you wouldn't get any breaks. You don't get Christmas, you don't get Thanksgiving and things like that. No summers. But if you're there for 2 years, you could get a commission as a United States Army officer. So it would normally take 4 years to do that, but you could do it in 2 years. And I thought, well, if I could do something in 2 years versus 4, that's going to be better, right? And so I did that. And then I had to go to college and finish up my bachelor's degree. So I went to school in Salem State, Massachusetts. If anybody knows where Salem is, it's where the witch trials were. So if you ever want to have a good Halloween, go up there. They shut that whole place down. The whole city is shut down. So I went to school in Salem, and I played basketball and baseball there. I walked on both those sports. And I love athletics. I love anybody play sports in here? Anyone? Yes. Yeah, I love sports, and it's just an awesome opportunity to compete. And my wife always jokes at me. She's like, I know he doesn't look like it, but he used to play sports. I'm like, honey, you can't say that. So I was also carrying golf clubs to put myself through school because I still had to pay to go to college. So I was carrying golf clubs, and then I was quote unquote bouncing at a bar at night. And here's what I say about bouncing. I was basically checking IDs for underage girls, and if they're pretty, I'd let them in. That's pretty much how I did it. And so one night I got home, and this is kind of a turning point in my life, kind of a changing point in who I was as a human being. And my answer machine, for those of you that are under the age of 30, that's an actual machine that would answer your phone calls, and it would blink if you had a message. You guys remember that? It would blink at a message, and all those Xers and baby boomers are like, oh, I remember that. But it was blinking like over and over, like 20, 30 times. And I thought, man, who called me like 20 or 30 times? It was like 2:30 in the morning, and I hit the play button. The first message was my mother. And when somebody calls at 2 or 3 in the morning multiple times like that, is that good news or bad news? Bad news. So it was my mom, and she was just hysterical. And she said my dad had had a heart attack, and that he had died and passed away. So for me, it was really difficult because my dad was like a giant of a man. He was, I'm a big guy, but my dad was 6'4", 275. He's like, that guy doesn't die. What's going on? We were still pretty young. And so I lived about 4 hours away. So I drove home immediately. And I'd have saved maybe like $5,000. It was the summer of 2000. And I had saved a little bit of money towards my tuition the next year, but I took all that money with me and went home. As soon as I pulled in the driveway, my mother comes out, my sister comes out, everybody comes out, and everybody's crying. And I realized immediately that I'm going to have to be the one to deal with this situation because my mother is in no shape to deal with this. And I'm the oldest. So I've got to kind of dig in here. So I didn't have a lot of time to like really grieve or think about it. I had to just deal with it. If anybody ever a parent pass away, you know how devastating that is, but also have a parent pass away and then have nothing. Nowadays we have GoFundMe, right? Everybody goes GoFundMe, right? But back then, when my dad passed, I sat down with my mother and I said, I'm gonna have to ask you a few questions. I said, do you guys have life insurance? And she said, no. Okay, well, do you have investments? She said, no. So, do you have any savings? She said, no. I'm thinking, Mom, where do you keep all your money? Because, like I said, I grew up in the 80s. And so if you grew up in the 80s, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about anything. You just go and eat, your dad gets the biggest pork chop, and then you leave, right? And so that's just kind of the way that it goes, right? And so I just naively thought that my parents had it together, And what I've realized by being in this business for the last 17 years is almost nobody has it together. I thought that my parents, when she told me they had nothing, I thought my parents were different. I'm like, how could this happen? You guys really screwed this up. But that's 95% of America. They don't have it together. All the people driving by on these roads, as you drive by them, realize that they probably don't have life insurance. They probably don't have any savings. They have no investments. If they do, it's very little. But we're going to go over that today. So it really was a serious issue for us. How do I have a funeral? I live in a small town, so I sat down with a funeral director. And I remember, I'm a grown man. I'm a lieutenant in the United States Army, and I'm crying like a baby. And I'm just begging this guy to have a funeral for my dad. And I'm picking the cheapest of everything I can pick. The cheapest casket, the cheapest flower arrangements, the cheapest room. And it just devastated me inside, because this is the man that I love the most in the world. And I'm sending him out on the cheapest of everything. It was just, it sucked, it was really bad. Now, if you know my dad, and if you have a dad like this, he would, he said, he would have been like, well, just bury me in the backyard. You don't have to waste all that money, just bury me in the backyard. Turns out it's illegal, because I checked. So you can't bury him in the backyard. So we actually had a funeral. And it just was an eye opener for me that, a lot of people are in that situation. So I made a promise today at my funeral, my dad's funeral, that I said, look, I'm gonna change this for our family. I'm gonna fix it. You can count on me. And for better or worse, I took that mantle on myself, and I said, I'm gonna learn about money. I'm gonna learn. I didn't really know the phrase how money works, right? I didn't know that phrase, but I just said, like, I want to learn about money. We're not going to be in this situation ever again. I'm going to fix it. So fast forward, I'm in Taji, Iraq, in 2005. Been there 15 months, and just frustrated with my life. I intended to be in the Army for a few years. I'm a big patriot at heart. I love this country. I always tell people, hey, look, this is the greatest country in the world. And people say, I don't know about that. I'm like, look, nobody's risking their life to get across the border of Syria, right? They're coming here, right? I always tell people are dying to get in here, and people are dying to get out of other countries. So this is a great country, and I love it. I don't back up from that. So I'm a big patriot. And when we were there, I was frustrated because, I intended to maybe serve 2 years or 4 years, but I clicked my fingers and it was 10 years. Anybody ever been there in life? Yeah. You just snap your fingers like, wow, I've been doing this 10 years now. And nobody tends to do something they don't really like or love for more than a few years. But we get caught in a rut, right? We get caught in a rut. And I always tell people, the reason that you're caught in that rut is that, you have no chief aim. There's no definite goal. And so Napoleon Hill, if you know that author, Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, but he also wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil. And in that book, Outwitting the Devil, whether you believe in the devil or not, just humor me for a second. Napoleon Hill says he has a conversation with the devil. Whether that's real or that's not, he says it's a conversation with the devil. And he asks the devil, what's your chief weapon against humanity? What do you use? Do you use drugs, alcohol, gambling, pornography, infidelity? What do you use? And the devil says, I don't use any of those as my chief weapon. My chief weapon is I set the human mind to drift. When the human mind is drift, then I can get them into drugs and alcohol, and I can get them into gambling and all the horrible things, right? And when you think about that for a second, you realize that that's so true, right? That is so true, because if you are laser beam focused on a goal that you want to do, you're probably not going to be, susceptible to those things, because you're like, no, I don't have time for that. I got to go do this, And so that's what I was kind of drifting through life. And I had a moment where I realized that I was walking back. It's my birthday. It was 2005. 2004, May 24th. Any May 24th in there? What? Yeah. That's awesome. Greatest day ever. Greatest day ever. Right? So May 24th. And a buddy of mine says, hey man, let's go to the dining facility. It's your birthday. He's like, there's some peanut butter cookies there. You like those peanut butter cookies? let's go get some of those. I'm like, yeah, okay. So we walked to the dining facility. And as we're walking back, we took a little bit longer than normal. And as we're walking back, I see what I thought was the generator blow up, right? It blew up. And I thought, my first thought was, man, someone ran that, didn't check it, ran it out of oil and blew it up. And I was kind of mad about it because I had to deal with it. And then I saw something else blow up. And then I realized that we were getting rocketed. We were getting mortared, right? And so everyone's like running. And it was just a moment where I realized, man, how can it was 120 something degrees. I'm sweating like crazy. There's flies all over you, like thousands of flies on your face. We're getting rocketed. I'm sitting there and then stuff's just blowing up. And my mind's like, how did I get from Sullivan, Maine, this one little spot, to this place in the world where this has happened in my life? And I thought, I gotta do something different. I gotta do something different. And so, all right, somebody was talking to me a minute ago, definition of insanity, right? I think it was Greg, right? And so I'm like, I gotta do something different. So later that day, I went to my commanding officer and I said, hey, sir, I think I'm gonna get out when we get home. And he said, why are you gonna get out? You're a captain. You're getting ready to get promoted to major. I've been in 10 years. So being a major at 10 years, you made it in the military in here. So thank you for your service. Appreciate you. Being a major at 10 years, that's really fast. And he's like, you have a good shot to become a general officer. And I just thought, I don't want to be. I don't want that, which is really kind of crazy if you think about it. A lot of times in life, you wind up doing things because other people are doing them. It's really not what you want, but you go along with it. You know what I mean? And then before you know it, you find yourself spending 10, 15, 20 years. And you're like, I never really wanted to do that. So I just decided I'm going to make a difference right now in my life. I'm going to do what I told my dad. I'm going to change our family. I'm going to make some changes. So I decided to get out. He asked me, well, what are you going to do when you get out? I said, I don't know, sir, but 350 million people are doing it. I'll figure it out. Right? Because a lot of people in America doing something besides the military. So when I got back, I kind of got into real estate. Any real estate agents in here? All right, cool. So in Texas, I could throw a rock and hit like 6 real estate agents wherever I'm at. Everybody in Texas is a real estate agent. And a realtor. Yeah. So everybody, like in Texas, they think that's the way to make big money. That's the way to do. But the thing about real estate for me, right? And I still have a real estate license to this day. I still keep it, right? But the thing about it for me was in real estate, and I'm going to talk about this today in the training in depth, right? There's no residual based income. There are 3 types of income in the world. There's earned income, where if you have a job and you work and you get paid, right? Then there's passive income, like a rental property. Okay. Then there's residual income. When you've done something, then you get paid again and again and again and again. The really cool thing about what you're going to see today is whenever we have a client save, not spend. Think about that for a second. Let that sink in. That should put stretch marks on your brain. Whenever we have a client save, we're the only industry in the world where I have to convince a human being to save money and I get paid. Everything else is I have to convince you to spend it. Hey, if you want this computer, you got to spend it. You want this phone, you got to spend it. You like this tie, we got to spend it. But in my industry, if I convince you to save, I get paid. And I love that. I love that about who we are. So, and that fact, every time they save every year, right, there's a little bit of residual that I get every year. So I was fired up to do something with residual. I owned a Century 21 for about 2 years in real estate. And then one day, a guy comes in and talking to me about this business. Very similar to probably some of you guys. Someone said something to you. I came to a meeting just like this. As a matter of fact, it was in a classroom style setting like this with a projector. Everything looked exactly the same, except for there was only 2 of us. It was a lot. You have a lot nicer meeting right now. There was only 2 of us, and I sat in the front. And she was like 85 years old. She fell asleep on my shoulder. And I thought, man, this is the worst decision of my life. What was I thinking? But as I listened to the presentation, there was something calling me to it. There was something calling me saying, there's something here. There's something here. I got to look at this. I got to look at this. And I didn't play the hokey pokey. I didn't put 1 foot in and 1 foot out, 1 foot in and 1 foot out, right? Shake it all about. I didn't do any of that. I said, you know what? I think there's something here. And I'm going to do this. And I stopped doing real estate and I started doing this business. And I'm not asking anybody to do that today. What I'm asking for you is to have a little bit of an open heart, listen, and then say, hey, is this something that I think that I might be able to add to what I'm doing? Is this something with good people doing good things right? With good products. And we're gonna go over that today. So that's my personal story. I wanted to tell you that a little bit before I talk to you. I feel like if someone's gonna talk to you, you should know a little bit about them and what they're doing and where they came from. And that might help out a little bit. So we have what we call the wealth crisis. There's a lot of crisis in the world today, but there's a massive crisis in understanding money, right? There's a lot of people illiterate about money for sure. And so what we want to do is we want to talk to people about taking control of that. So our mission is very simple. We want to stamp out financial illiteracy. That's a big mission. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, literally 40 or 50 years ago, there was a large part of this country that couldn't read. I mean, you might not remember that or think about that, but about 50 years ago, was a large portion of this country that wasn't able to read. But we made a decision as a society that we were going to change that. We were going to stamp out, illiteracy. We're going to teach people to read. Now, at this point, just about everyone is able to read and write. Well, we have the same issue here. We're financially illiterate in this country. We really are. Even though we think that we may know, we have a degree from the University of TikTok. I get it. But we gotta do something big here. We have to change the way that people look about money. Now, we didn't have a company or a focus that did that. So what we did was we basically said, you know what? We're going to become the How Money Works company. We're going to teach people easy, understandable, duplicatable concepts that they can take and they can implement in their lives. And so we started doing that. And we said, okay, let's take a look. And everything I'm going to talk to you about today is going to be from the perspective of a business owner. Because I'm going to try to paint a picture for you, because you are invited here to take a look at this opportunity of what we're doing, right? And this industry, okay? And I'll try to paint a picture for you that this industry and what we're doing is right and ready, okay? If you take a look, about $109 trillion of money in the financial industry. If you combine retail, which is like Walmart and Target, with real estate and double them, they still don't equal the size of the financial industry. There is a ton of money being moved and saved, right? And added to 401ks and people leaving jobs and rolling them over. Money is always in motion. It's always in motion, and a lot of it, as you can see, right? So again, I'm just basically painting that picture. Hey, is this a big industry? You bet. Okay, well, is there a need for what we do? Is there a need for what's going on? Well, you've got 87 million millennials, the Gen Xers and the baby boomers. So you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about 220, 230 million people need the information that we have. And by the way, for the first time, about a year ago, for the first time in the last 50 years, the millennials have started to earn more money and control more money than this generation. This generation controlled everything for years, right? The baby boomers changed everything. From 1946 to 1964, something like 96 million or 76 million babies were born. Think about that. For every one woman in America that could have a child, she typically had 4. Isn't that crazy? So what that means, though, they controlled everything in the financial world, because now that mom can't make food. Back in the day, they used to make the baby food, but you can't make it for 4 people. So guess what? Gerber baby food became a household name. Then go to the store and buy it. Toys. You need 76 million toys. So hula hoops and Tonka trucks and G.I. Joes and Barbies and all this stuff started coming out. Then guess what? The car industry, right? When skyrocketed, when in 1946, well, most of these kids are born in the 60s, the car industry skyrocketed because now you have 4 kids leaving the house that need a vehicle. Think about that for a second. And so now, by the way, you see all those muscle cars back in the 60s. Now you're seeing a repeat of that, because the baby boomers who weren't wealthy enough to get a car back then like that, they're buying them now. They're buying the Mustangs and the Dodges and everything like that. Yes. And so, and then, in the 80s, there was a housing explosion, because now, you've got kids that don't live with their parents anymore, and they need a house. Well, that's why the parents' house, right? The parents had 4 kids in their house. So they had one house. That means their house was worth a lot more money because everyone wanted it. So you started seeing the suburbs really build up and really get going. So I'm just trying to paint a picture for you that one generation can drive an industry. But when you look at our industry and the fact that we can do this for all generations, and there's $109 trillion involved in it, now we're starting to paint a really good picture of, wait a minute here. a lot of money, and a lot of people need this help, right? So let's talk about what's going on. So Aegon is a global company. They did a survey, and they said about 70% of the people in the world are financially illiterate, and the US ranks seventh. Seventh. So that means there are 6 countries that know more about money than we do. It's crazy, right? I tell you, my dad, it used to drive me crazy. My mother and my father both passed away, and they passed away in the richest country in the world, and they both died dead broke. How's that possible? How's that possible? It's because they had no information. I asked my mother a couple years after my dad died, why is it that you guys didn't have any of these things? And she gave me 2 answers, and it stuck with me and sticks with me to this day. She said, number one, we thought there'd be more time. We thought we'd have more time to figure it out. You ever think like that?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get it done later. We'll figure it out. But you don't know how much time you have, right? Hopefully you got a lot, but you may only have a little. I don't know. We've all been given a certain amount. So the second thing she said was, we didn't know where to go, and nobody ever came to us. Think about that for a second. Merrill Lynch is not going to knock down your door and say, hey, can I help you save 50 bucks? It's not going to happen. You have to have a $500,000 of minimum account value to work with Merrill Lynch. So if any of you guys have $500,000, come see me after this and I'll help you. But before, most of you probably don't, right? Have $500,000 laying around. So that's an issue. So that's why we're not educated, because the industry has left us behind. They don't care. They're jockeying for the top 14 or 15% of the richest people in the world. Well, what about the other 85%? Who's helping people like my mom and dad? Who's helping people like you? Who's helping people like me, who's, a lieutenant in the army? Who's helping me save money? Nobody. It's wide open, right? Wide open. This one's a shocker. 21 out of 50 states are do financial education in school. I think that's insane, right? 50 out of 50 states do sex education.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can figure that one out on our own.
Right.
But this one, we have no clue. I'll tell you how I got my first credit card. I was walking through Fenway Park. I'm in, like I said, I'm a baseball guy. I went to school in Boston, walking through Fenway Park. I'm in college. And the guy says, hey, if you fill out this credit card application, you get a free t-shirt. I'm like, a free t-shirt? Yeah, I want a free t-shirt. Who doesn't want a free t-shirt? I'm filling it out. And I said, well, I don't have a job. He goes, what are you going to school for? I said, I'm going to be a teacher. He goes, just write down you're a teacher. And I said, okay. I mean, I'm 20-something years old, 22 years old. I have no clue. So he said, write down you're a teacher. I'm like, okay. I said, well, he asked me what I make. He said, what do teachers make? I said, I don't know, $35,000. He's like, write that down. Okay, great. Got my free t-shirt. See you later. A couple weeks go by. What do I get in the mail? Nice little credit card, $250 limit. So I'm a responsible college student. So what do I do with it? Immediately go to the bar, right? And then bam, max that baby out, right? I hear somebody say that. Max it out, man. Well, another month comes by, I get the bill in the mail. It says you're over what you had, so you got a penalty. I call up and panicking. Call up that number and say, ma'am, I can't pay the overage. I don't know. She says, well, we can take the overage out if you get a credit limit increase. I said, well, let's do that then. She says, okay, up to 500 now. I learned my lesson. So I said, you know what? Hung up the phone. Let's go back to the bar. Right? Before you know it, I'm in $1,000 of debt. And then that's it. They got me, right? They got me. And I was just in that cycle, in that circle, consistently. That's how I found out about money. The crazy part to me is this. We're sending kids out into the world. We know, 100%, we know they're going to need to buy a car. They're probably going to need to get a house, or at least a rental lease or whatever. They're going to need to get a credit card. They're going to get a job. They're going to have taxes. They're going to get 401k or some sort of savings or investment that they have to deal with. And we teach them nothing, not a single thing about it. And we know for a fact they're going to have to face those things. And we send them out. But we taught them all about the Pythagorean theorem, that's for sure. And every one of us in here, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember that? I have used that never in my life. Never in my life. I was like, man, good thing I knew the Pythagorean theorem. We wouldn't have been able to get out of quantum Hall if I didn't know that one. I learned all about the War of 1812, which has served me wonderfully in life. It's insane what we're doing. So I'm submitting to you that we got to make some changes, right? We got to make some changes. The government's not going to do it. We got to do it for ourselves. Okay. It's a #1 crisis in the world is financial illiteracy. Now you may say, well, James, I think it's hunger. I think it's this. But here's what I'm trying to explain to you. The way that this survey went about it was they say, look, if people understood money and countries understood money and they use money properly, we wouldn't have hunger. We wouldn't have these things. You know, and again, nobody yell at me here, but like we have countries and places that have no food and we have countries and places that have abundance of food. Food's getting thrown away, food's getting whatever, and people don't have it. It's just a lack of understanding of how economics works. Really, honestly. So that's an issue, right? And we need to work on that. Now we can't tackle, I'm not gonna be able to fix 5 billion people globally, but you know what I can do? I can work on me and my family, and I can work on my clients and my friends. And we can emanate from that circle and we can go and go and go. And then before you know it, I can affect my community. And then I can affect my state. And then I can affect my country. Okay. So a couple statistics. I'm not big on statistics. I think it bores people, but we'll talk about it a little bit. The first one, 44% of Americans don't have enough savings to cover a $400 emergency. You may think that's not true. Think back in 2020 when COVID happened. When COVID happened, people were losing their minds that they could not get paid. Like, I'm going to lose my house if I don't get paid in the next 2 weeks. I'm thinking, you don't have any money saved at all? None? No. Most people in America are living paycheck to paycheck. Would you guys agree with me with that? Thank you very much. Paycheck to paycheck, which is sad. We carry almost a $10,000 credit card bill. Here's something I'll tell you about credit card. You know, none of you guys in here have credit card debt. I know that, okay? But if you do, here's what it is. It is a constant companion. When you go to bed, it works against you. When you're at work, it works against you. When you're having fun, it works against you. When you're watching TV, it works against you. It is horrible. You got to first strive to get out of debt, eliminate it, get rid of it. That's one of the #1 things that we talk about and teach people here is we got to get you out of debt. You're a slave to it every single day. Every single day, right? And then this one's scary too. 1/3, if you look around the room, right? 1/3 of people have anything saved for retirement, right? And I always joke, and this, you got to bear with me on this joke, right? There's only about 96% of people are not going to be able to retire, right? Without a diminished standard of living. Meaning you can retire maybe, but you're going to have to live a lot less than what you were living before. You're not gonna be able to travel as much. You're not gonna be able to do as much. That's kind of scary. That stinks. We're in the richest country in the world, right? You think about this room. That means probably only about maybe 2 people in this room are going to be able to retire. And the sad part is Angelo and I are in the room. So, so I'm like, we got to help people. There's a massive need. There's a cry for this, right? So we need to get going. So we had to create this education system because when we found this out, we said, look, we're gonna make a difference. We're gonna start doing this. What material do we have? Where can we go to help people? There was nothing. There was nothing. There were no books written about it. There was no material. And the ones that were written about it are like this thick. And let's be honest, how many of you guys are going to read through a book that's like that thick about money? You're just not going to do it. The attention span in America is 8 seconds. 8 seconds. A Labrador Retriever is 9, right? 9. So I'm like, we're not going to read that book. So we had to come up with something, and we started this ambitious mission, right? And we built this system from scratch. We created this how money works system. As you can see, now look, if you've not read one of these books or have one of these books, it's a very small, thin book. You should probably be able to read it in 45 minutes to an hour. It's like a cartoon, so to speak. It's very easy to understand. My kids have read it. I would encourage you, get with whoever invited you. Get one of those books. Don't go buy it on Amazon. It's like $20 on Amazon. We'll give it to you for free. Okay. But this is an awesome opportunity. We started this education system. What we do is this education system meets 100% of the financial literacy criteria set forth by the government, right? So we have engagement. We work with people to get them excited and understand. We go through a discovery process where we take your situation and we say, hey, what do you got going on? Where are you at, right? Most people, by the way, don't want to look at that, right? Out of sight, out of mind. They don't want to look at it. We talk simply and clearly about what it is that we can do, what we can do, what we're going to do. We have up-to-date information. It's consistently updated. We're honest about everything. Whatever we put on there, you can look it up. We have usually at the bottom of, we tell you where we got the information. It's not like we made it up. We'll tell you, look, we got the information from this website, this survey, this is what it is. Here you go look at it yourself. And then we help you with the last part, which is amazing. We help you with a strategy. It's all great to know that we're messed up, right? But how do we fix that? You know, it's like going to the doctor and like, oh man, you're sick. He's like, yeah. He's like, okay, see you later. Like, I knew I was sick. I came in here with you need to give me a strategy. What are we gonna do about it, right? So that's the thing. We're gonna help you with the strategy. We're gonna give you some stuff to use. You're in one of the strategies that we've created. You're in a learning center. You're here, and we teach how money works out of these centers, right? We tell people, we work with you, we go over things with you, we provide all this information to you in this How Money Works Learning Center. We also go through a money milestone, like a roadmap, so to speak, where we talk about your financial education. We talk about proper protection, not only of your life, but of your money. Does some of you guys know that you can have basically protection of your money? So if the market goes down, you don't lose anything. Because what's the number one reason that people don't invest in the market, you think? Risk, they're scared, right? We kind of all heard it, they want to lose money, right? They don't lose money. So, but what if there was an opportunity for you to participate in the upswings, but not participate in the downswings? Would you do that? Most people say yes. And by the way, that product, it's not ours. We don't have any products. You're going to see in a second. We don't have any products at all. We're like a Foot Locker. You guys ever been to a Foot Locker before? Foot Locker doesn't make its own shoe. It has a Nike, a Reebok, Adidas, a Puma, basketball, running shoe, track, CrossFit, whatever. They have all the stuff. You go in there, pick the one that fits you, the one you like, and you roll out of it. We're very similar to that situation. We don't have any products. We basically offer products and services through these companies. And so for us, if you take a look at it, that thing I mentioned to you a second ago, we participated in the upswing and then mitigate the downside or have no loss. Some of those have been around for 25 years. Why do you not know about them? Well, most people don't know about them because two reasons. Number one, they don't sell them at banks. That's where most people go, by the way, to get their financial information is the bank. And anybody work at the bank right now? Nobody works at the bank? Okay, good. No one's gonna yell at me. And banks are not here to help you get financially independent. Heads up, right? Banks, they take your money and you save it and they give you like a 1% rate of return at best. Okay. Then they lend it out. So let's say, I'm gonna say, Shanti, we're gonna buy a car, right? I go in and I give them $10,000 and they say, yeah, we'll give you 1%. She's in right behind me and she borrows that $10,000. You think they're gonna give it to her for 1%? No. What's a car interest rate right now? 8, 9, 10, 7 if you're lucky. I just bought a car for my son, a Honda Civic. And the guy ran my credit, great credit, ran my credit. He says, we can do it for 9.9. I'm like, you realize it's a Honda Civic, right? It's just crazy, So understanding how money is key, right? Emergency funds, managing that debt, like we talked about, cash flow. There's only 2 ways to increase your cash flow: spend less or make more. Which one is more fun? Making more, right? But do you control? If you have a job, you control making more. If you have a job, you really don't control making more. You can't go, your boss like, bam, I've been working my butt off. You owe me some extra money. What are they gonna do? Security, all right, gone. You can't do it. So we talked to you about maybe operating and running a business. That's why you're here today. Making more cash flow. One of the easiest ways for you to become financially independent: make an extra $1,000 or $2,000, save that money, let that money grow for you. Wealth can be arranged, by the way. Wealth can be arranged. You don't have to grow up wealthy. I told you, I grew up as a lobster fisherman's kid. And I don't say this to try to impress you, rather to impress upon you that, I remember if I lost $10, I was running around like crazy, checking the laundry, checking my back pockets and my jeans, maybe sick to my stomach, $10, But as you mentioned, I just crossed over $1 million a year in cash flow. It's insane when you think about that, from where I came from in the business that I built. And again, I'm not trying to impress anybody. Many of you guys probably know people or make more than that. It doesn't matter. My point is, I sat in the seat where you're at. Someone talked to me about a business and an opportunity. I said, okay, I'll learn how this game is played. Because in actuality, that's what it is. I'm learning the rules of the money game. And you can't win if you don't know the rules, right? You ever play Monopoly with a family? The person who knows the rules usually wins. You know, breaks something, throws it up. The person who doesn't breaks something and throws it, right? So again, I just wanted to learn how to do that. We talk about building wealth and then protecting wealth, right? So those are the 7 money milestones that we talk about. We do have leadership centers. And again, this is both. This is a learning center and leadership center, meaning we're finding people that want to build and grow a business, right? And we're teaching those people how to do that. And we're also teaching clients how to save. We're doing on both sides, okay? So the industry need. Most of you now, you might say, well, James, you already told me that there's a lot of money in this industry. You already told me that a lot of people need this. If it's so great, why is not everybody doing it? If it's so good, how come there's not that many people doing it? Well, let's take a look. 58 is the average age of people doing this. And typically they're old white guys. Okay. I used to say that as a young white guy. Now I'm an old white guy. Okay. I used to be proud to say that one. Now I'm like, damn, but that's the industry. There was a study done by Booz Allen Hamilton, okay, about 20 years ago. And the industry was shrinking back then. And the industry wanted to know, why are we shrinking? I don't get it. There's a big need for this. There's a lot of money to be made here. Why are we shrinking? And the answer they got was this: if you want to grow the financial services industry, more licensed people, you need to get more minorities. You need to get part-time people. You need to get soccer moms, right? You need people with the opportunity to learn that can keep their current job. If you think about that, that is us. That's what we do. That's why we're growing. Every year, we're growing by 20 or 30%. And the industry is looking at us and thinking, what the heck's going on here? Why are you guys growing like crazy, but everybody else is shrinking? Think about this as a student right now. Nobody's going to high schools and saying, hey, why don't you take a look at financial services? Why don't you guys come out and build something here? What they're doing is, hey, why don't you be an app developer? Why don't you develop websites? Why don't you go into SpaceX or rockets or Tesla or all of, and that's what kids are doing. But as you look now, hard time finding jobs because everybody and their brothers getting the same degrees. But there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity here. The question is, where will distribution come from? If less and less people are doing this, who's going to start? Where's it going to come from? Well, it's going to come from what I just talked about. We're going to hire soccer moms. We're going to hire part-time people. Look around this room. Seriously, take a second. Look around this room. This is a cross-section of America. This is what the United States looks like. That's to tell you something, right? In my office, the same way, right? We have Filipinos, we have Chinese, we have African American, we have Mexican, we have let me see, Indian, we have bald white guys, we have we got a lot of almost 60% of our firm for me is women, right? And by the way, I believe that honestly, women are the future of this business because women make the decisions, even though the guys say, oh, I make all the decisions. We're done, like, let me check my wife. Okay. So women are big time in this industry. There's an opportunity for you if you want to be professional and do something. There's an opportunity here to do that. So within the next 2 years, 3 million people globally are going to be needing in this industry. Let's just take a look at this. By 2030, which means really only 6 years from now, 10.7 million people are going to be needed in this industry. 10.7 million. It's insane. There are 38 million people in Texas. Okay, 38 million people in Texas. In about a couple hours, there'll be 40 because most people move from California. Okay, so there's 38 million people in Texas. Only about 3,500 people have all the licenses. Just in Texas alone, that's less than 1%. So I mean, there's an opportunity there if you got the license. That's what I'm trying to. Hopefully, you're getting what I'm saying, right? There's opportunity, and that's really what you're looking for. 51% of all workers say that they currently are looking for a different job. Compliance wouldn't let me put what I wanted to, which is 51% of people hate their job. Okay, they say you can't use that. So I have to say they're currently looking for other openings, which is code word for they hate their job. I mean, I'm not asking you to raise your hand in here, but some of you in here hate your job, right? Some of you love your job, but some of you might not make enough money at where you're at. You love your job, but you don't make enough money. Example of that is teachers. A lot of times teachers love their jobs, but they just don't make enough money. What if there's an opportunity for you to make a little bit more income and still keep your job? Wouldn't that be great? Most companies are not going to allow somebody to work part-time. They're not. If you're going to work for Merrill Lynch or JP Morgan, guess what? You got to quit doing what you're doing. You got to go full-time into commission-based sales. How exciting is that when you're trying to raise 3 kids and pay for a mortgage? Scary, right? We don't do that. We don't do that at all. And then really, honestly, there's an untapped segment of society that we are really doing well in. And that is this. Most people who are baby boomers, they're retired, but they still have a lot more in the tank. They want to do something. They don't want to sit around. And they've got some great life experience. They've been around. They've seen stuff. They know what they're doing. So if we can teach them these skills, we can give them an opportunity for what I call an encore career, right? An encore career. 74%, as a matter of fact, want to keep working. That's 3 out of 4. That's insane. So there's an opportunity there as well. So we've got this proven system. This quote down here from Michael Gerber, he wrote the book E-Myth. He said, for an ordinary person to do extraordinary things, a system is needed. You need a system. The reason why McDonald's sells the most hamburgers isn't because they taste the best. Would you guys agree? They sell the most hamburgers because they have a system and they have the most stores. Everybody knows, do all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Right? That's a Big Mac. And if you grew up in the 80s, you know that because we used to sing that song, remember? All beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Big Mac. Remember that? So they have a system and everyone knows it. Whether you have a Big Mac in Quito, Ecuador, or we have a Big Mac in Chicago. It tastes like a Big Mac. It just is what it is. So our secret sauce, okay, is that same system. We brought systematized, if that's a word, we brought that to financial services. And that's what we're doing. We're teaching people how to do this, right? Fun fact real quick, did you realize that 1 out of every 3 eggs cracked in the morning is cracked at McDonald's? 1 out of every 3 eggs in the world cracked at McDonald's. Think about that, right? The little fun fact about McDonald's, you guys know what the best dipping sauce for chicken nuggets is? They did a survey. They had 100,000 people do this survey. And the best dipping sauce, what do you think it is? Honey mustard. I love honey mustard. Barbecue. Who else? Ketchup. Sweet and sour ranch. They found out that it was cranberry sauce.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever tried that one?
No.
Why not? Because they don't have it. You know why they don't have it? McDonald's first order for cranberry sauce exceeded the world's output of cranberries. Meaning the world did not make enough cranberries to fill the first order. Think about that for a second. That means no cranberry sauce, no cranberry juice. That means no Thanksgiving. So they just said, well, they just scrap it. They can't have it. That's how big that company is because of their system. We're building a similar type of company with that system. Here's the way it used to work. Then, which is kind of what we're doing right now, right? This is the only way to do it. You come to a room, you sit down, you get talked to, right? But now, there's people online, right? So we're doing it like this. We're hybriding this model and we're affecting and teaching and coaching people all across the United States by doing it that way. COVID sped some things up, right? There's some good things that came out of it, right? I think we're maybe 10 years away. If we didn't have COVID, we're probably 10 years away from adopting Zoom, right? Like we did, or electronic signatures like we did. But because of COVID, it collapsed timeframes. And now everybody, 80-year-old grandma's like, let's get on Zoom. Yeah, okay. So our platform is a platform of highs. We're high touch, high tech, high level of leadership and support. We've got leadership that have been together for almost 30 years. We have great marketing material, unbelievable technology backing us. We have a world-class administration, hundreds of people at the home office working for us. We have unbelievable sales trainings, and we have unbelievable products. Those products and services, are available to everybody. So we are a crusade powered by innovation. And this is a crusade for us. These are some of the companies that we work with, just a few. We have hundreds of companies that we work with, but some of you guys have heard these. I mean, like Pacific Life, Prudential, Nationwide. I mean, everybody knows Nationwide is on your side, right? Like if you ever watch Brad Paisley and Peyton Manning, you know the jingle. So all these companies are available to us. Here's some more companies that we work with. I mean, they're household names: Gerber, AIG, John Hancock, Franklin Templeton, and Fidelity. We have all these companies. This is all the stuff that we do. We help people with insurance and investments and 401ks, long-term care, disabilities, kids' college plans, mutual funds, IRAs, you name it. We can do it. The only thing we don't do is banking and credit. We don't do banking and credit. So there's a basic understanding of the products and services that we have, right? I kind of just highlighted it from the other page there. And then we have a model for expansion. We are looking to grow. So people always ask me, well, James, how much money can I make here, right? If we're going to work here, how can I get paid? Well, you get paid on personal income. Whenever you help a client save, not spend. So this is insane, right? If I convince you, Carlos, is that your name? Yeah. If I convince you to save $100, your $100 goes into your account and I get paid. All $100, by the way. And I get paid to do that. It's crazy, really crazy. We have team income, meaning if you build an organization. So I personally love working with people. I love working with people, and I have a big mission to help as many people as I can. If I want to help as many people as I can't do it by myself. I only got 2 hands, 24 hours. So even if I'm unbelievable at what I do, I can't get to everybody. My family is left behind. My mom and dad were left behind. I don't want that to happen anyway. So we need more people. We need people that want to do something like this. We have expansion income. If you want to open up an office and run it, we get paid to do that. And then bonus income. If you're a leader who builds and does what you need to do, we have bonus income. We'll talk really briefly about this, and then you don't need to wrap your head around it too much. But if you take a look at a basic product or two, let's say we help somebody save $350, right? $350 a month between a working husband and a working wife. That's not a lot of money. That's $8 or $9 a day. That's basically 2 cups of Starbucks coffee, for each one of them. I don't know why they call it Starbucks. They should call it $5. Everything else, at least $5, right? But then maybe they have an old 401k from work, and we help them move that and do the paperwork. If I did that personally by myself, meaning I help one of those people with an old 401k and 4 people, one a week, save $8 or $9 a day, I'm going to make about $100,000 of income. That's very reasonable. We have people in my office doing that, 20 or 30 people doing that consistently. Okay. But if I decide to build a business and I go out there and do some personal sales, but then I have a team and that team does just 6 sales, take a look at my income. Now we're talking about a business. Now we're talking about an opportunity. We're talking $250,000 of income. And that's really just getting started because again, we're paid residually, right? Every time somebody keeps what we've helped them with, we get paid again and again. We've helped 250,000 people, right? Being educated in the last 6 months. $200 million over the last 3 years has been paid out in commissions. We're excited. We have a program called E2E. That is an employee to entrepreneur. So if you're brand new and you're like, well, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. How do I make this stuff a reality, James? I'm a little nervous. We've got a tailor-made turnkey program where you come in, we teach you how to become an employee and move from an employee to become an entrepreneur, right? It's easy. It's very sleek and elegant, and we can help you do that. Last 2 slides here. Leadership development is everything in my mind. We have mentorship classes, we have technology, team building, we have a level playing field. Doesn't matter how old you are here, doesn't matter what language you speak, doesn't matter where you're from. If you got a driver's license, right, hey, we can do it. Okay, we're going to help you with this. We work on personal development big time, and professional development. I'm not the same person I was when I joined this business. And again, we're surrounding ourselves with people. It says men and women, by the way, that thing's, so don't think I'm a chauvinist. In this industry, and we're talking, we have TV shows, we have on-demand podcasts, we have VIP carpet days, we can actually go really visit us. And we have a video channel where you can do all your learning. So we're pretty much done here. So the question is, take control of your life, right? Take control of your life. Unfortunately, we live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. But most people are not free because they're not brave. You work for somebody else, okay? And again, don't get me mad. Don't throw potatoes or tomatoes at me up here. If you work for somebody else, they control a lot of your life. They control where you live, what you drive, what kind of food you eat, when you go on vacation. And you may think, well, that's not true. I'm American. I'll do whatever I want. Well, if you don't have the money to do that, or they can't get off the time from work, then they control that. So we're just trying to give you an opportunity to really get back your life, to really wrestle your life away from somebody else and live a life that most people only ever dream of. You know, Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, and in that book he has a poem. I'm not big on poetry, but I did remember this poem because it changed my life. The poem's called A Penny, and it said, the poem goes a little bit like this. It said, bargain with life for a penny, for life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer and gives you what you ask, but once you ask the wages, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that whatever price I would have asked of life, life would have gladly paid. I promise you, whatever price you ask of this life, it will pay. If you ask a small price, it's going to pay a small price. If you ask a big price, it'll pay a big price. We live in a wonderful place, wonderful opportunities. You've got great friends and teammates here that can help you grow and build your business. I hope you got something out of today. I hope you'll get with whoever invited you. I'm grateful to spend time with you. Thank you so much.